Hey, Charlie, Jack, what do you call an Ewok without any teeth?
I
A,
don't
gum, a gummy bear.
know. Oh my god. Welcome to episode 84, where we're talking about Star Wars canon and legends and gift ideas. We're also joined by someone new. Hello, listeners, and welcome to episode 84. And as always, you're listening to me, Jack, and Jimmy here at Explore the Force. And joining us today is our new friend, Charlie.
Charlie, how's it
Hello.
going?
I'm doing good, mate. How are you?
I am good. Long week, last week of school, so the crazy is going to start. Obviously, everyone knows we record these on Sunday, so I've got 5 more days with rabid high school students who are ready to go on break. So send out prayers, folks. Send out prayers. Jack, how was your week, bud?
Yeah, good. We've now finished 3 weeks leave, so I'm back home for 3 glorious weeks. I'm getting ready to fly out to Lanzarote. And yeah, quite a busy week. What about you, Charlie? Your week been all right?
Very boring compared to both of your guys, apparently. I've just been tidying the house, getting ready for Christmas. The usual, the usual.
All right.
Nice, nice.
Very cool. Well, as always, because of Jack being busy on the socials and all that good stuff, we've had a massive influx again of followers on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Just want to say thank you guys. Again, we just ask that you participate, ask us questions, join in the conversations, and we're doing the Advent calendar or all 25 days Advent calendar. Join in, talk to us. Let us know what you think, what you like about the show, what you don't like about the show. We'd love for this show to be driven by the listeners and the viewers.
Yeah, exactly that. We've seen some really good engagement with the Advent calendar stuff, so keep it coming. Remember to like this episode, share it with your Star Wars friends and family.
And I got this bit of the script this afternoon. Follow us on all of our social media platforms. All you have to do is search Explore the Force, all one word. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Awesome. Right, so this week then, we're going to talk about some Force encounters. Okay, so I'll start us off and I'll let you know about any Star Wars events or happenings that we've had this week. I've had quite a good one. A little bit of post come through the door, obviously last week. Me and Details were saving the galaxy on Star Wars Battlefront 2 and a little photo from him signed as Quay Tolsit as well. So that's going straight up in the collection with the rest of the signatures that I've got. So D, I know you've been listening. A massive, massive thank you. Charlie, any Star Wars stuff you've got this week?
You didn't prep me for this one.
No.
No, to be honest, I'm still riding the high of the end of November where I had a whole weekend of Star Wars Friday to Sunday and it was absolutely mad. It was Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars from top to bottom. So that has given me plenty of Star Wars to keep me going throughout all of December until Christmas when I will inevitably get some more Star Wars presents.
Amazing. Amazing. What about you, Jimmy?
Yeah, it's been, like I said, we had a really hectic week, 2 swim meets, all kinds of stuff going on at work. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I mostly just comics and stuff like that. Nothing major. Loving Skeleton Crew, the Crow's Nest every
Yeah.
Tuesday night so far. It's been a lot of fun, a lot of good interaction. But yeah, I would have to say that this would be kind of where I'm at right now. Hopefully, we'll get a little some more fun. And like Charlie said, maybe we'll get some gifts over Christmas.
Who knows? Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, so awesome Force encounters this week, folks. How about we head over to Batuu and see what's coming out of there?
Okay, big news this week. The leading man of the hit Hulu series, The Bear, Jeremy Allen White, has reportedly been cast as the voice of Rotter the Hutt. Rotter was last year, I think it was Rebels, wasn't it, Rotter?
Well, you got that right, but you got Hulu wrong.
Hmm.
Is it who? Is it Hulu?
Hulu. It's
Halulu.
Hulu.
Hulu. Hulu. Okay, there you go. But yeah, essentially, Jeremy Allen White is going to be doing the voice of Rotter. How are we feeling about seeing some more Hut action?
I'd be fine about it if the whole Hut appearances in the Book of Boba Fett hadn't kind of been a bit of a misnomer. Also, I know Roach of the Hut is kind of like a meme in the Star Wars community, at least especially the Rebel side of the fandom. So I don't know how they're going to approach this. I really don't. The last time we saw Roach of the Hut was in the comics, and he's like muscular. So I I don't know.
That's a good shout.
Yeah, if it's not practical, I don't want a hut. I mean, if I'm being perfectly honest, I think it
Exactly.
looks, everyone kind of gets on us a lot because since we've started this podcast, we've really enjoyed everything that's come out. We've seen the fall. If you'd have been with us, if we'd have been doing this during Kenobi or especially Book of Boba
Oof.
Fett, I would have had some complaints. I thought that the huts were pointless in that show, and I thought they didn't look great. But I would love having huts. I
Yeah.
hope that it's a practical. I mean, because it's obvious when it's between Jabba the Hutt and then those two twins. I can't even remember
Yeah.
their names, but yeah, I mean, I'm fine for it. It's a cool grab. Someone that's that popular right now because the Bear is a huge hit over here in the States. I don't know about you guys on, across the pond, but it's a massive hit over here on Hululu. So, but yeah, I don't know, Jack. What do you think?
Yeah. Halulu or Holulu. Either way, I'm with you guys. I mean, Charlie, you've got a really good point there. We're quite used to seeing the Huts quite large in their appearance, but if we're going off the comic, and that's like the last appearance that we've seen of Roto, he's quite hench. So it'd be interesting how they pull it off. And again, Jabba the Hutt is a massive key character in Star Wars. So yeah, they've got to get it right. I think got to get it right. It's got to be practical.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. That could make or break some things, I think, moving forward. I mean, it is a
Yeah.
movie, so maybe they'll spend the money on it. I hope they do. I hope they learn their
Yeah.
lesson. But the official cover for the upcoming Star Wars The Acolyte visual guide has been revealed in an online listing for the upcoming reference book written by Lucasfilm Story Group member Pablo Hidalgo. Another reveal from the cover is that the book will feature a foreword by Mandela Stenberg, which I'm curious to read because I enjoyed her. I know that she's had her differences with the fandom, and rightfully so. She's pushed back on some stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll be excited to see that. And Pablo, too, is also one that's quick to jump all over people when they do things. So it'll be an interesting when this thing is released and people start commenting on it. I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
I like the show. What about you, Charlie? Did you like Acolyte? I mean, I've not talked to you about Acolyte. So where do you stand on Acolyte, and will you be picking up this visual guide?
I will absolutely be adding this to my Christmas list. I have an extensive collection of a lot of the behind the scenes Star Wars books. And yeah, maybe there were parts of Acolyte that I didn't particularly enjoy, especially when it comes to some of the narrative ideas. But visually, absolutely breathtaking. Every single episode was a feast. So give me all of that behind the scenes. Give me the costume design, give me the aesthetics, give me the inspirations. I'm obsessed with that sort of thing. Absolutely.
Yeah. This is a big must, especially for like myself and Charlie, doing the whole cosplay thing as well, because these visual books, they give us so many
Yes.
ideas and references, hence the name of the book. But yeah, it is pretty high up there on the books that we type of people tend to get. It's absolutely huge. And we've got other huge news as well, haven't we, Charlie?
We have, according to my notes, Ewan McGregor is on stage in April. I'm assuming this is supposed to say in the West End with previews until kind of the 17th to the 29th, which means he's unlikely to be around for Star Wars Celebration. However, the Star Wars Celebration Japan social media pages have been hot with giving us a very, very long list of guests we can expect to see next year. We've got Alan Tudyk, who's K2SO. We've got Anthony Daniels, the C3PO, of course. Ashley Eckstein, who's the voice of Ahsoka from the Clone Wars. I love her. She's such a bubbly personality. She's a wonderful person. We've got Dan Logan, who's young Django. We've got Diego Luna. Thank you very much, Castian Andor. We've got Doug Chang, who's one of the design directors. My personal favorite, Maz Mikkelsen, who I was very grateful to be able to wave at last year at Celebration. Manny Jancito as Chimere. The Star Wars girlies are going to be all over that. I'm so excited. And of course, we have
Yeah.
Tamara Morrison, who's our one and only Boba Fett.
Yeah, that's a pretty good
Yeah.
list so
A
far. It'll Pretty good
Yeah,
list.
yeah, big time. I think Manny Jacinto is going to gain a lot of interest.
I
Oh,
plan to meet
yes.
him. I plan to meet
Ooh.
Manny. I ran into Doug Chang at London just randomly, like the day before it started, just walking through. What's that place called? What's that facility that they have it in? MCM's
The
always
Excel.
there. Yeah, the Excel Center. Thank you. Just walking through there to pick up my tickets or whatever, and there's Doug Chang, and I was like, oh. He just sat and was talking to a few people. I waited around for a couple minutes, told him thank you for everything, and then got a photo with him and moved on with my life. But he was really nice, and I've heard him speak.
Yeah.
Hopefully, since he's going to be there, he'll do a panel because when I was in Anaheim, and this is, we've talked about Anaheim a few times, things were not going well for me. But his panel, his passion for Star Wars is nothing like it, and his experiences with George, he can tell a story, and he's a wonderful speaker and obviously an amazing person. So this is a pretty fun cast so far, and we're not even into it yet. Like all the big names will start, not that Manny Jacinto and some of them aren't big names, but they will start dropping people
Oh yeah.
here pretty soon.
Yeah, I'm expecting to see John Boyega and Jude Law as well, because obviously they've been in Tokyo doing their little event over there with Daniel Logan. So the thing with Ewan McGregor, we're doing this stuff at West End. Obviously, we've put in there. It's not confirmed that he's not going to be there, but I can't see it happening. We've obviously got the preview from the 17th of April to the 29th. It'd be a bit of a loss, especially since they're trying to push Kenobi season 2. But yeah. What do you think on that, Jimmy?
Well, at Anaheim, he seemed like he was exhausted, if I'm being perfectly honest. They had him, the crowds, the people, you got about 0.3 seconds to say hello to him. He did take time with like little kids, he was spent a little bit more time with. And he's been pretty busy on the circuit. Like he has done a lot since coming back from Anaheim, him and Hayden doing a lot of things. So I'm disappointed, right? Because he's always a big draw, and you could be getting exciting news. Maybe this is like a leak to think that he's not there. I'm not sure how clever they want to be, but I don't know. I think it's you've got fans that are in Japan. When are they going to get to meet Ewan McGregor? You know what I mean? And I'm sure that they would probably be more disappointed than some of us that have met him, in the States or in Europe. So, Charlie, have you met Ewan? Did you get a chance to meet him or anything? Because he wasn't at London, was he? Did he sign in
Yeah, he was
London?
at London.
Was he in...
Yeah, he was. He was at London.
I
Yeah,
got
I
a
also
picture with him.
agree. From what I saw, he looked very, very tired. The crowds at London were insane. Also, I didn't have a chance to meet anybody because all of my money was spent on booking a hotel. Because London prices, they love to crank it up.
Yeah.
The only kind of Star Wars people that I do know are like Dee. I'm also good friends with Ross Sandbridge, who bodies Snoke in The Last Jedi. He's an absolute treasure of a human being. I think Jack said you guys have met and chatted to him before. He's a treasure of a man. I did walk through the autograph area at Star Wars Celebration at London and just like waved at people, and that was enough for me. That was exciting enough. And I think I saw Dave Filoni's cowboy hat in the distance at one of the panels and went,
Nice.
That's awesome.
that's the I have yet to have. But if I was going to meet anybody, I'd have to meet Daisy Ridley. I'd have to meet Daisy Ridley in my Rey costume. That would be kind of the peak, really, I think.
Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, so that wraps up then this week's news. Okay, so today we are talking about Star Wars canon and legends and a little bit about gift ideas. However, first, I'd like to introduce a close friend to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've ever been to a Star Wars event in the UK or any cons and thought you'd seen Daisy Ridley and done a second take, you've probably seen this person. They are a Star Wars cosplay legend and well known in the community. My fellow listeners, it's my good friend, Charlie H.
Oh, hi. It's me, Charlie, / running back to Jakku. I am a Rey cosplayer, and I've been very kindly invited to spend the afternoon with Explore the Force.
Yes, Charlie, thank you for coming on the show. Jack has been speaking wonderfully about you since he met you at the last, was it MCM that you guys were at together, I believe? So we're excited to have you on here. Your background, this is going to be great. Why don't you take a few minutes and just talk about, your background in Star Wars. We know you're an awesome and amazing Daisy Ridley Rey cosplayer, but where's your love of
Thank
Star
you.
Wars begin? How do you feel about where we're at with Star Wars right now?
Okay. I guess the best place to start is I was gifted a copy of The Phantom Menace when I was about 9 years old. I was born in 1994, so I was a little bit like after when kind of The Phantom Menace came out and it was first introduced to me, and I was obsessed. I think I must have watched it every single day for about 3 months on repeat. I didn't know about
Nice.
Attack of the Clones and I didn't know about Revenge of the Sith. All I cared about was The Phantom Menace. That was it for me. Baby Anakin, Jar Jar Binks, Padme, all of it. I was obsessed with all of it. And then I watched the second and third ones. And then I watched the original trilogy when I was about sort of 13, 14 years old. And it just consumed my life. Books, t-shirts, merchandise, the films, fan fiction, Tumblr blogs, Facebook groups, you name it, I was in it and it's persisted and I'm now 30 and I am not slowing down anytime soon. I started cosplaying when I was in about 2017. My very lovely boyfriend at the time said, "You look like Daisy Ridley. Why don't you dress up as Ray and we'll go to Comic Con?" And I said, "No, I don't. Don't be silly. Of course, I don't look like Daisy. What are you on about? Don't be stupid." Put a really cheap costume on that I borrowed from a friend. I borrowed her kid's like plastic lightsaber, one of those flickable, like retractable ones. And I couldn't move for the entire day we were at that con for people wanting pictures. There were people who thought I was Daisy Ridley. I had people stop me and tap me on the shoulder. Um, and it just spiraled from there. And now I have a thriving Instagram account. I have a wonderful, wonderful community of friends that I love to pieces. I've started working with Saber Guild, Rebel Legion, 501st. I've met Jack. I've met you guys. I've done podcasting. It Star Wars has been a huge part of my life, and I'm so, so grateful because without it, I wouldn't have any of this.
Very cool. That's
Oh,
awesome.
absolutely amazing.
I graduated high school in 1994, Charlie. So thank you for making me feel old.
Oh my
Um,
goodness, I'm so sorry.
Yes.
oh my goodness. Well, so man, wow, that's awesome. I mean, it seems like it's never stopped. How do you feel about Star Wars right now? Like, obviously we come off the Acolyte; it's super divisive. But now we're in a time of the Skeleton Crew, and it seems to have quieted down because you don't hear anything about it on social media. How do you feel about kind of these last 6 months or so of the Star Wars fandom?
I think it's been rocky. I'll hold my hands up and say, it's not that I disliked Acolyte. What I disliked was the discourse and this kind of almost vitriolic hatred that spewed out of it in a level that I've not seen from the fandom since The Last Jedi. And I don't even think The Last Jedi slander was as bad as the Acolyte was. It was horrible and it really, really put me off Star Wars for a while. And I'm kind of almost glad Skeleton Crew has appeared when it has as like a plaster for my wounds, a balm to soothe my upset with Star Wars because what you've given me is a tiny blue elephant child that I'm obsessed with. You've baby Grogu'd me all over again, and I'm gone. I'm sold. I think Star Wars will always be divisive. Star Wars will always put a cat among the pigeons. I think it's designed to be that way. When The Empire Strikes Back came out and people realized that George Lucas didn't direct it, there was outrage. There was abominable outrage from everybody. And it's never
Yeah.
stopped since then. It hasn't stopped and it never will stop. And I think that's part of every fandom, but I think specifically for Star Wars, it's very us.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd
Oh yeah.
have to
Yeah.
agree with everything you just said, basically. So, yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
been very good. All right.
I'm just excited to move on and move forward, you know? I want to see what's
Yeah.
coming next. And
Yeah.
I feel
It
like
has.
there's a lot coming. We're
Have you got a
just
favourite film, Charlie?
oh, oh. Right. See, it used to be the Phantom Menace, but the longer that I've cosplayed Rayfall and the more I've interacted with the Star Wars fandom as Ray, it's going to have to be The Force Awakens. I know that that's controversial. I know that's probably going to upset a lot of people, but I love it.
No, that won't upset
I
anybody.
love it.
And it's fun too, like how I mean, we've talked a lot on here. One of the reasons I was so enamored with Mr. Details was because Solo is my favorite film. I don't know why. It just is like my favorite um, film of all of them. So yeah, no, that makes sense. I hope that we get more time with Ray. I know some people are sad and annoyed that we may be getting a Ray trilogy, but I feel like the more time we get with her, the better it's going to be because Jack and I have talked about it a lot. No one liked Ahsoka at first, and now look at her, right? I mean,
Yep.
Yeah.
so I
Thank you.
just yeah, just give us more time with Ray, and I think she grow. And Daisy has gotten better and better at each movie. and I'm not the biggest Ray fan, but I have seen improvements in her acting, and she's gotten better in things, and being outside in the real world and doing non-Star Wars movies, I think is just going to improve her and make her even a better actor for this trilogy. So I'm excited for it. So hopefully for you, you'll have a lot more cosplaying coming down the road.
Exactly. Exactly. Great minds think alike. That is exactly where I'm going with it.
Brilliant. Okay, so like we mentioned, then we're going to jump into the Star Wars canon and legend stuff. There's a few things that we saw this week that just sort of tweaked our interest, and we just wanted to dive in and see what people knew about Star Wars Legends and canon, exactly what it is. And I know, Charlie, you've been hard at work and you've fished out a couple of quotes as well. And just reading some of these quotes really just sort of put a lot of light onto exactly what canon and legend sort of is. So, yeah, if you just want to crack on with the quotes that you've got and who they're by, I'm sure that'll start us off wonderfully.
I was doing a little bit of reading on the subject of Star Wars canon and Star Wars legends and what all of this sort of means towards the fandom, and I found a really, really interesting quote from Dave Filoni where I think he breaks it down super, super nicely. People get into all these debates of what's canon and what's not, and sometimes forget the special nature of telling a good story and creating great characters. Part of the fan debate in the past always used to be what's canon, what's not, because there was George, and we always knew George was the canon. I look at it very broadly and I just say that there's a love of Star Wars because I knew George, I worked with him, and none of us are going to be him, but we love the galaxy he created and we're very much a product of it, growing up with it.
Yeah, absolutely love that. And the biggest thing that comes out for me at that is obviously, Dave Filoni's talking about writing stories, and this is one of the kings of writing stories. And now a little bit of research as well. So for me as well, canon and legends, two completely different things. And the legend sort of thing is anything before, I think it's 2014, about September, October time. Anything before that was pretty much classed as a legend. No, there's loads and loads of books out there defining what is legends, what is canon. But essentially, what it is Disney sort of got hold of the legend stuff, and they don't want that part of their storytelling. Would you agree with that, Jimmy?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's so divisive too, though. People get so angry about canon and versus legends or expanded universe. But yeah, I think so. I mean, from the time that Disney, I mean, they bought it, they come out and they said that everything prior to, was it Rebels? I think is the first thing, as far as like animation and stuff, and then all the books got pushed back, and then there's a definite uh, line drawn in the sand of where canon starts with certain things. Like obviously, all the movies are canon. And then we didn't have any TV shows. Everyone who wants to complain about Disney buying Star Wars, well, then you wouldn't have the Mando, you wouldn't have Neil, you wouldn't have Grogu. But yeah, I would think that you're
Yeah.
pretty spot on with that definition.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So essentially, it's just Disney's way of, they wanted to tell a different story post Return of the Jedi. So all they did was all that stuff previous, instead of just erasing it and getting rid of it, they sort of just reclassified it, if you like,
Yeah.
called it Legends. And sometimes you hear people call it the EU as well, like Expanded Universe. But it's stuff that isn't wrong or anything like that. It's still a big part of people's lives, still a big part of Star Wars, because a lot of the stuff that we're seeing now actually comes from
Oh,
the legend
massively
stuff, doesn't it?
so.
Yeah, I mean, George famously he didn't pay any attention to this stuff. I mean, he supposedly didn't like the idea of Mara Jade. He definitely didn't like
I-
Jax, the big giant
mm.
rabbit. There's things that we love and, intriguing and storylines we probably would love to see. But George, I mean, unless it was in a movie, I mean, he didn't even bat an eye at it, I don't think.
No, yeah. And again, Charlie's got a great piece. If you want to go into that, Charlie, about George considering his canon.
Yeah, so the Star Wars kind of the concept of the gospel canon, like the hardcore canon, was first defined roughly in the 1994 edition of the Lucasfilm magazine Star Wars Insider, specifically by the Lucasfilm production editor Sue Rostoni. And they also have a continuity editor. His name is Alan Couch. Both of them specifically said gospel or canon, as we refer to it, includes screenplays, films, radio dramas, and the novelizations. I'm breaking the quote for a sec to say, fun fact, the extended universe is actually older than Star Wars canon. The novelization of A New Hope was released 6 months before the film came out.
Mhm. Oh wow.
Highlight reel.
These works spin out of George Lucas's original stories, and the rest are written by other writers. They're very, very clear to make that distinction, unless George has had something specifically to do with it, i.e., the screenplays, the radio dramas, which were offshoots of the screenplays, or the novelizations that he was directly kind of part of, not canon, not part of the gospel. Um, However, between us, we've read everything, and much of it is taken into account in the overall continuity. And the entire catalogue of published works comprises a vast history with many, many offshoots and tangents. It's like in any other well developed mythology. End quote.
Yeah,
It
pretty much.
gets sticky because I think it does actually depend on what your personal definition of canon is as to what you then consider breaks canon or disrupts that canon. And I think older Star, not to claim that you guys, not to say that you guys are old by any stretch,
Oh, here it
older
comes
Star Wars
again.
fans who are, there it comes, ageist. I'm just ageist. I'm sorry. Older Star Wars fans will have a different definition of what canon is compared to kind of fans that are like my generation and much younger, especially people who were born post Disney merger in 2014. So it it depends. You can go off the official definition, or you can just say, what I say goes, because who knows?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
fortunately for me, as one of these older generations, um, the movies were my thing. Going into the military, I mean, kind of took a step away from Star Wars for a while and got back into it with the release of the prequels. Not a huge reader at the time, so I don't have the connection to all those stories. Now I have read Plagueis. I have read the Kenobi book by John Jackson
Yeah.
Miller. There's a couple that I've read multiple times because I love them so much. But I'm okay saying, hey, these are not canon because Disney says, they own the property. So I can get, the Timothy Zahn stuff, the early Thrawn, the Rise, it was the Heir of the Empire stuff. I get why people are emotional about that. But I mean,
Yeah.
in the end, is it really worth like some of the stuff that we see on social media, like some of our posts, people just ripping each other to pieces over
Yeah.
stuff that's not even real. I mean, it's just like, come on, like you can
Yeah.
enjoy it.
Ah, mm,
So, but yeah, I mean,
That's the thing as well. There's so much Star Wars, and I keep saying this. There's so much Star Wars. It's easy to be picky, but the beautiful thing about this canon and the legend stuff, there's so much of it. You could literally make your own Star Wars story in your head, so you can include everything, and it probably still work out
yep.
at the end of the day. I'm sort of with Charlie as well. Obviously, I'm only 4 years older than Charlie, so I see like the slight difference between us and Jimmy in terms of our definitions. My definition or what I think canon and legends is pretty much anything from 2014 behind, and that's purely
Yep.
down to some of the stuff going forward. To me, it wouldn't make sense in my head. So that's totally fine. It'd be completely different for Jimmy, for example, even completely different for Charlie. But there are lots of awesome books out there. Like you, Jimmy, I haven't really read a lot of the legend stuff. I've read quite a bit, but not all of it. And since the High Republic's been released, I've read a lot more Star Wars than I used to. And we've had some incredible Star Wars legend books. I know you've got a list there, Jimmy. What sort of books are we talking about here?
well, the big one, and I know, obviously we get Thrawn from this, but the Heir of the Empire, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I got those as Christmas
big one.
gifts back in the day, and then my brother wrote his name in original copies. So Justin, for yeah, yes, we don't want anyone to steal them. So I mean, he was being safe, but I was like, dude, these are original copies of the books. So that's the big one I think that really starts some of the insanity.
Yeah, yeah, big time. Have you got a list there, Charlie, as well?
I do have a list, which also obviously starts with Heir to the Empire. That is the most kind of popular one, and also I think the biggest amount of
Yeah,
Legends source material that we've seen used in a current Star Wars product offers obviously so much of Ahsoka, and also kind of the end of Rebels, like it all
yeah,
sort of kind of melds together, was taken directly from Heir to the Empire, which I do believe Timothy Zahn said he's absolutely fine with. He's all for, fully supportive of,
yeah,
loves, 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 which made me so so happy to see. We've got the Darth
yeah,
Bane trilogy by Drew. I'm going to absolutely brutalize this. Papayashin, I think.
Halula.
Um, Shadow. We'll give it a go. Shadows of the Empire is by again like a really really popular legend series, but that's by multiple
Love that.
authors. There's the Darth Plagueis books by James Luceno. There's
Yeah.
so much. This is something I see a lot in discussions, especially on online forums. Is I want to start reading the Star Wars Legends. Where do I start?
Yeah.
If you guys were going to introduce somebody who's never read a Legends book in their life, what would you tell them they need to read first?
Oh my goodness.
Me personally, and this is going to sort of go ahead a little bit, right? Me personally, I'd start with Darth Plagueis because it's one of my favourite books I've ever read out of anything. But also,
Yeah.
and I said this on when we were doing the Acolyte stuff, I think one of the other reasons I enjoyed the Acolyte was because I enjoyed reading Darth Plagueis, and then to see Darth Plagueis was like, wow. Even though the book's got nothing to do with the Acolyte. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, I would say the same thing because then you get that. I don't want to give too much away from the books, but how it winds in with the prequels, and like it
Yeah.
just kind of slips in and out of the prequels towards the end of that book. I think that gives you the continuity that you need if you're jumping into it. But there is so much. I mean,
Yeah.
I have no idea. Like I would say that book, then after that, I'm like, you're on your own. What do you like? Do you like Jedi? Do you
Yeah.
like X-wing pilots? Do you like, what do you want to do? Because you got all that stuff. Knights of the Old Republic. I mean, you have so many avenues you can take. Um, so
Even games.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Don't
The,
even get me
the
started on the
games are
games.
amazing. I'm going to come straight to you, Charlie. What sort of games? Which games do you absolutely adore?
Oh my goodness. I obviously I wasn't kind of an original console player for a lot of these games, so a lot of this I kind of emulated through my PC, etc., etc. Really, really enjoy the Bounty Hunters game. That's super, super popular.
Yes.
Lots of Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian came from the Bounty Hunter game.
Yeah.
Um, I'm a huge fan of the 1313 game. It was never released. There was a
Oh
bunch of
yes.
concept art done, a bunch of like video shots done, and I have delved. I think I did like an entire podcast episode with another show just about the 1313 game because there's so there. I think there are about 40 unreleased scripts for that game, for stories in that game, just locked away in the Lucasfilm archives forever that we
I've
might
never even
never get
heard
to
of
see.
this.
Oh yeah. It was.
You
It
never
was.
heard of this? Oh man.
Nah.
It's gonna be. It was gonna be huge. And they had a trailer for
Okay.
it, right? I think there was a trailer
Yes.
for it. And
Yes.
1313 was a level on Coruscant where you're going to get started. And I mean, it was just going to be it's everything that they talked about with like, the seedy underworld stuff. You're going to be dealing with the huts and the clans and things like that. But yeah, every once in a while it kind of rears its head up, on social media, like
It
pops back up
does.
out of nowhere. But yeah, I would love it if somebody grabbed that and just went with it. I mean, it would be
Think
killer.
a lot of it would be a lot of those ideas we used in Star Wars Outlaws, obviously the kind of connections with the kind of underworld groups and
Mhm.
the crime syndicates. But it does kind of rear its head out of people missing it and thinking about it. So if you ever want to check out just a really cool bit of Star Wars history, going down the 1313 Wikipedia hole is a good afternoon of reading. So, so much fun. How can we not talk about the Force Unleashed games?
Oh
So
my
good.
god.
So, so, so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
You think those would make good movies having characters that powerful?
Yes.
Please,
Yes.
please.
Okay.
Pulling down that destroyer was just
See,
like,
that's the stuff that I think, a lot of fighting and stuff. And I think that maybe that's like the difference because I only played those games recently. Like, I didn't, like I said, I wasn't playing games a lot because, like, I was in the army and a lot of that stuff was coming out. So, like, kind of what I
yeah.
call like my dark period of Star Wars where I didn't really know what was happening. I'd play like Rogue Leader or something on the X or the N64 or something like that. But, yeah, I think that. I mean, having Sam Witwer, that makes sense because he's awesome,
I was
super
about to
nice
say.
guy. But I think that would be like, whoa, it'd be almost too much for me. I think, but I also
Yeah.
understand the excitement because if you read like Lords of the Sith and you see what Palpatine and Vader were doing, I mean, it's probably not much different than that, I guess. So I can see why you guys would both want that. I think it would skew Star Wars as far as like the Jedi that we've seen so far, and even like Palpatine, like you know what I mean. But I mean that's like my opinion. I think that's why they kind of stay away from it.
Yeah. 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 I can sort of understand why, but at the same time as well, it's sort of a generational thing, isn't it? Growing up, you know, the kids' imagination, especially like the amount of video games and that.
Oh, it's like a new one every month that was coming out. My brothers have stacks and stacks of Star Wars games for like the 64. I think maybe even the Genesis. I don't know if it goes all the way back to the Genesis or not, but this was probably before you were alive, Charlie. But so, but just stacks of games that they play, and they'll reference things. I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And they're like, "Oh, Mr. Star Wars doesn't know this, or whatever." And so I would love that. So they are bringing some of that back because wasn't Bounty Hunters just redone for the PS5, or has that come out yet?
Yeah,
Yes.
they did a remaster. They did another remaster as well for the Switch of another one with a stormtrooper on the front. I can't remember what it
They did
was.
Battlefront. They remastered Battlefront 1.
Yeah,
And
there's
it was a little
Battlefront
bit of
one.
a hot mess, I believe. That's why I didn't download it. It was a bit messy. Um, it's quite difficult, I think, to port older games onto newer console systems, so it ends up being a bit difficult. I'd rather just give me new Star Wars games, please. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, I'm absolutely down for that. But there was something else as well. I can't think what it was. It's got Kyle Katarn in it. It'll come to me. It'll come
Knights
to
of,
me in a minute.
is that the Old Republic stuff? The Knights of the
Is
Old
it
Republic
is
stuff?
it KOTOR?
No, it's not Knights Republic or Republic. It will come to me. It will come to me. I'm sure it will. So yeah, it's the next part of the show. We're sort of discussing now the legends and canon sort of thing. And again, Charlie's got some fantastic points, and we've sort of already touched on it. Sort of stealing Charlie's work here. But what sort of stuff
Go ahead.
would we like to see reintroduced into modern Star Wars? I think that's an absolute bang over question.
Go, Jimmy.
Go for it, Jimmy.
Go.
If they want to do a Kenobi season 2 without messing up any canon moving forward, just do the dang book.
Yes.
I mean,
Thank you.
and don't give away the mystery in the first 5 minutes. I mean, that's an acolyte, and one of the things I had a problem with the acolyte. There was no mystery, there wasn't anything. But if you would do John Jackson Miller's Kenobi book, you could introduce a whole new. I mean, and there's like one or two scenes where he's watching Luke. You'd have to do some readjusting with Qui-Gon because he's trying to commune with him throughout most of this book. But there are awesome characters. It's based on moisture farming, sand people. I mean, I'm telling you, this would an easy 8 episodes. Boom, boom, boom. Knock out the movie. Fill it up. You'd have great stuff. You could do a little bit of because there's some hut stuff in there. I think it takes place. Is it Mos Espa? I think is one of the different cities it takes place in. But you could crush a season 2 of Kenobi and not have to step on anyone's toes or any canon or any of that stuff. And I think it would be phenomenal. And there's such great characters in that book too. And the twist of it, you're just like, what? Because they got this great sand people leader, Plug Eye, and just so good. So I don't know. I would love, and I've been screaming that forever. Just make that season 2. I have spoken.
Okay. Nice. No, some good points. Good points. What about you, Charlie?
See, this is where I show off how much of an absolute baby I am. I have really not read any much of the legend stuff with any sort of depth and detail. I've listened to bits of the Heir to the Empire audiobook. I've read a couple of chapters of Darth Plagueis. My knowledge is very limited, but I think I would have to go. I would kill for some kind of a live adaptation of Starkiller. I have no idea who'd play him. I have no idea how they do any of it, but it would be amazing to see that in live action. So, so cool. I love those games to pieces. I've played them so many times now.
Yeah.
I'll just get Sam to do it. I mean, he might be a little bit too old to do
Oh,
it now.
actually, yeah, obviously that's the obvious answer, isn't it?
But I mean, he is.
Did he do the motion for it? Did he do
It's
the motion?
him. If you look at the game, it's him. Starkiller is Sam Witwer. So yeah. But I mean, he's obviously much older because he's probably in his early 20s, maybe. I mean, he still looks great. Hollywood. He's got that great skincare regime, probably. So, but yeah, they could definitely use that.
Yeah, no, I'd be down for that. One of the big things for me, I sort of already mentioned it, would be the Plagueis stuff. Because you see a different light of not just Plagueis himself, or even Herzog. We don't know if it's a man or a woman, to be fair. But Palpatine.
I was going to say, give me some Palpatine context. Give me that backstory for that old man.
He is vicious. Well, that's my exact point. A lot of people look at him because of the film, so to speak, but just come across as a poor, weak old man. Sort of even in the Sith, when Mace has him down, you look at him going, he's weak, etc. But in that Plagueis book, he is vicious. Like, he takes no prisoners.
Oh yeah, I mean, I thought we were going to get some of that in the, they had
Acolyte.
all that stuff either in the Acolyte, and I thought that's where we were headed. That's why I was so excited for, like, again, slightly average, less than average show, but the potential for a season 2 with diving into that story. I was like, wow, they're going to bring that in there. But there are all those rumors about Matt Smith playing young Plagueis in flashbacks, apparently, of like one of the original, like The Rise of Skywalker or whatever it was called, Duel of the Fates. Just maybe not Matt Smith specifically playing him, but just that backstory, especially from Plagueis, would be really fun to see. And I think people would like that. I mean, it's like the Godfather kind of, just story with Plagueis doing the things he does with the banking clans and all that, and how it weaves in and out of the prequels is pretty awesome. With the Phantom Menace, especially. So,
yeah. And that sort of ties in nicely to the last little bit of the canon stuff. But again, there's something else that Charlie come up with. This is why I got Charlie on the show. Another absolute banger is this Limmy stuff. What is Limmy, Charlie?
Oh my God. So I used to have a thing on my other podcast where I would write Star Wars quiz questions for the end of the episode. I do like 5 to 10, and they'd be ranging as the weeks went on, they got more and more ridiculous because obviously everybody knows what color is C-3PO's arm. Everybody knows all the basic stuff. So I wanted to get juicy with it, which meant I got to dig into legends. Now, Jimmy, do you have any idea what Limmy is?
I do not.
No?
Oh, this is
Nope.
amazing.
Limmy, also known as Meshkaroya or bolo ball, is an in-universe sport that very, very closely resembles European football or soccer. It's been mentioned in Legends material since about 1994, but it was recently officially canonized in the High Republic novels. Like its real-world counterpart, it features a galactic cup, a very confusing offside rule, which I struggled to understand, and despite being played across the galaxy, it's really not that popular on Corellia.
Okay.
Nice.
Star Wars,
Love
Star
it.
Wars has soccer, and it's called Limmy.
Lemmy. They showed
Absolutely
that
love it.
stuff in the background of like that bar scene. Was it in the? Is it in the
Yes.
second one? Is that it, or is that? Because that looked. I thought that looked like American
Yes.
football to me, but yeah,
I think it's a variation on Limmy, and there's also horse racing as well, or like the equivalent of horse racing in the
Fogger
back of that
racing.
scene
Yeah.
too. There's a
Oh
lot of
wow,
in-universe sport.
that would be cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Love it. And then obviously one last question that I spotted on there, Charlie. Again, we'll fire this one
Well,
at
I
Jimmy because I've
actually
seen the
have,
answer.
I have two, and I don't know if you've seen the answer to the third one. This one's a little
Go
bit of
for
an
it.
easy one. What is the best-selling Star Wars Legends book series of all times? And bonus point if you can guess how many copies have been sold.
Oh my gosh.
If you had to pick one series.
I'm gonna say the Heir of the Empire because it was like the first one.
You are correct. Yes.
Okay. I have no idea of numbers of the copies though. I mean, I was pretty young when those came out.
Would you say more than 10 million or less than 10 million?
I'm gonna say more because that's the only Star Wars we thought we were ever gonna get again.
You
That's
are
a very good
correct. It has
point.
sold 15 million copies since being
Whoa.
That's
released. It's the
insane.
biggest
That's
selling Star
insane.
Wars novel series
I hope Timothy
ever.
Zahn did some percentages. Doing all
I hope
right.
so too. I hope he did the George Lucas thing if I'm going to get in on that merchandise as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, have you guys read Heir to the Empire? Because this is where canon. This is
I
kind
need
of
to
a
get it.
segue. I know we're all over the map here, but it's fine. The difference between Thrawn in those books, Thrawn in the animated series, Thrawn in Ahsoka, and then Thrawn in the new series that Timothy's on. I feel like that's where I start getting concerned as a fan because you're supposed to hate this character in Rebels and in Ahsoka, but if you read all the books that even the newer books, right, the Ascendancy and all that stuff, like you're rooting
Yeah.
for this guy the whole time. He's like the blue Sherlock Holmes of the Chiss
Yeah.
Ascendancy, and so that's the only time with me with canon and legends when they start bumping into each other a little bit. I have no, I
Okay.
don't care about birthdays, like that doesn't bother me, and they change people's birthdays or whatever. But when the character kind of goes in and out of being a hero, anti-hero, like that kind of stuff, that does bother me. I don't know how you guys feel about that. Like, I have read The Heir to the Empire a long, long time ago in a state far, far away, but I can recall enough that no, like this character from those books and the character we see brought back in Rebels, brought back in Ahsoka, they seem very different to me. So I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? And then and that kind of conflict between, because some of the canon and legend stuff, because this book does cause a
Yeah,
lot
yeah,
of the
Yeah.
fighting with legends versus canon stuff.
yeah.
It is one of the
It's
things I
a
wanted
it's
to
an
kind of get
interesting
us to
debate.
talk about was how do we feel when things like plot holes and retcon come up and this kind of idea where things end up knocking into each other, because that's kind of been my issue with Legends this whole time. Is it's kind of a form of
Mm.
Star Wars fan fiction where an entire separate set of narratives have been written by not just one person but multiple people who've also covered a lot of the same story, so the outcomes are different. Like, one of the last questions I was going to ask is, in Legends, who stole the plans for the Death Star? Nobody knows. There are about 20 different answers over about 40 different books. Nobody knows. So when you start trying to pick at threads of it to kind of inform the new canon, of course you're going to get these issues where it just isn't meshing together. And I always thought Thrawn was supposed to be the bad guy, but the way he's portrayed in the TV series doesn't match up to what I've heard and understood from the book. Not that I've read all of Heir to the Empire, but I've listened to enough of it to get the gist, you know?
Chist.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's my biggest thing is the differences between him. But I did not know that about the plans to the Death Star, and that's why you do need a through line. And then people can be as
Yeah,
upset about Disney as they want, but for me, like, I don't really enjoy, like, I like Marvel, and I've always watched everything, but the what if stuff, I'm like, I don't care. Like, I like canon, I like the story driving forward. I don't know. And then you start getting all these plot holes, like you said, and things that don't match up. Especially, I mean, I'm not sure how they could have kept everything straight while they were writing, because they just had people writing books. They just go write a series, and it would conflict. But I will bring up, Dave Filoni also said that its storytelling is based on like human nature, sentient being nature, where it's from your point of
yeah,
view. So what you think
Mhm.
is the truth is what you're telling the story. And Dave has said this. I don't know. Jack, you may have made a short about this or a reel with him
yeah.
talking
Many
about it,
moons
but
ago,
like
yeah,
he talked about how he's fine with all these different things, and things like don't line up sometimes. And I think that's just a good PC way of getting out of it. But it's a smart
yeah,
answer, because he's just like, hey, it's just, if we all saw a car accident, we all see it three different ways, and then that's how the stories
yeah,
get
yeah,
told. So, I mean, I see that, but when it comes to blaring stuff, like 40 different versions of the, you know, Death Star plans, I like having the fact that Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor stole those plans, right? And
yeah,
like, I like that. I like having that to anchor me from. Then we can split up from there if we need
Mhm.
to. So,
yeah. Yeah, and I'm a big fan of that as well. But yeah, lots of good, really, really good, valid points. The last thing I wanted to touch on before we move on to talk about some Star Wars gifts and ideas, etc., is our favourite Legends characters. I'm pretty certain I know one of Charlie's straight away. Um, I'll start us off. So it's just who it is, what they're from, and pretty much why we like them. So for me, one of my we'll just do three is a smuggler and a mercenary, Dash Rendar.
mm,
I absolutely love him. Absolutely love him. He is fantastic. To me, he's sort of like Solo, but a bit more panache about him. Um, very, very arrogant, very clever. He's got his own ship as well. Um, Shadows of the Empire is a great game, absolutely killer game. I was on the N64, wasn't it, as well when it first released, I believe.
I think so.
Yeah, yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Absolutely awesome, awesome game. His ship to me, when I first saw his ship as well, was like half of a Falcon.
mm.
Oh, nice.
Y22400 freighter. Yeah, it's like half of a Falcon. But yeah, he was full of tricks, usual blaster mercenary style. But yeah, it's just a bit more. I don't want to say stronger than Han Solo, but a bit more like gun ho than Han Solo. More up for a fight, if you like. And I'm pretty sure had a big run in the game, if I remember right, with like IG88. I think that was one of his main rivals, trying to track him down. I think in the Legend stuff as well, it's helping Luke Skywalker to get to Han Solo. I'm pretty sure, because they were chasing Boba Fett across the galaxy before he could get to Jabba's palace. But yeah, for me, one of mine for coming at number 3 is Dash Rendar. What have you got, Charlie, at number 3?
Number 3, I'm going to have to put a vote in for my best girl, Mara Jade, because not only do we have badass redhead, we have badass redhead with lightsaber, enemies to lovers storyline with Luke Skywalker. She absolutely detests him when they first meet, and I love that. I love it so much.
Nice.
She's just badass, and she doesn't get enough representation or appreciation. And every time, not that I see them very often, but the few times I do see Mara Jade cosplayers, you are all beautiful. I love you. Please keep doing what you are doing because she deserves it.
Yeah.
Bring Mara Jade into canon, please.
Yeah. Great shout. Great shout. What about you, Jimmy?
Yeah, I would have to say that I would like to see them try to pull Mara Jade into canon, but oh my gosh, I mean, what would happen? I just, all these people who are screaming about Disney, but then they bring in this character. I mean, you're never gonna make everybody happy, but I would think it'd be kind of exciting. This is a weird one, and this is like, again, I've
Yeah.
reread and read Plagueis and Kenobi a bunch. There is a do I call him a sand person? A Tuscan in the Kenobi series called Plug Eye, and she kind of runs the clan. And this is the first time before Mando and stuff like that that we really got to see like Tuscan Raiders. And there's very Native American esque, similarities with their stories about the two sons chasing each other. I mean, things that you would hear, like the Two Wolves story. But
Yeah.
there's just a cool way that they bring the culture of the Tuscan Raiders and the Sand People into Star Wars and make them. I mean, you don't even know who or what they really are. Like, you don't know what's underneath all that wrapping, and it just it dives into it so much. So I'm gonna say Plug Eye. I can't think of what her real name is. I just know that they always call her Plug Eye because of this red like jewel or something that's been stuck in one of those like viewers of hers.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great shout. That's a good character as well. Coming in for number 2 for me, I don't know if I'm saying this right, I'm going to say it anyway, is Exar Kun. So he was a Sith Lord thousands of years before Sidious, quite an old Sith Lord. Again, he was pretty much the one that started the whole rule of two to an extent as well. He was referenced a few times. I think he was referenced in Solo, actually, Jimmy. But yeah, this guy was a no prisoners kind of Sith, kind of what I like, a bit like your Darth Maul, absolutely detested Jedi. I think his other appearances was Dark Apprentice as well. He's in all the old school EU books. It's just reminded me, I've actually got, when I was a kid, and I've still got them now, these giant Star Wars folders with all these characters in. So I'm going to dig those out and have a look through those as well. But yeah, for me, Exar Kun, one of the most powerful Sith. What have you got at number 2, Charlie?
Again, I know I've mentioned him before. I am an absolute obsessive little fangirl. It's going to have to be Starkiller. Again, I'm obsessed with people who do ridiculous things with lightsabers. So here we are. Starkiller's just cool. Absolutely, completely overpowered. Absolutely ridiculous set of powers, skills, and abilities. But I don't care. I love it.
Jimmy, what have you got?
I'm going to say any of the Sith that they have not brought into canon. I mean, I know they canonize a lot of them by making the those Sith troopers, their units named after a bunch of the Sith lords and things like that. But I think the fact that we have them out there and they could tell more stories, and again, I have not dove personally into a lot of these stories with like Bastilla and Revan, and I'm trying to think of some of the other ones off the top of my head. But I think just bringing any of them back into Star Wars would be really, really cool. Maybe get some kind of, Mike and I are rewriting or we're writing our own version of the Ray trilogy on our Tuesday night stuff. Whenever once we finish that right there, and one of the things is that they're trying to find like this relic, and it could have been anything from anybody. And I think with all them out there, it would be awesome to start pulling them back into canon and just give us little pieces of them or some backstory here and there. So I know it's kind of a cop out answer because I just don't want to pick one of them, but
No.
having all of them there and just having that potential sitting there right out the cusp, I think it would be awesome to get some stories.
Yeah, nice. And that ties in nicely with my top one. And I remembered the game because it's in the game. It's called Dark Forces. That's the remaster that they did. Kyle Katarn. So essentially, he was a Imperial officer and then defected to the rebellion. Oh my gosh, I know where Charlie's going with this. But yeah, he gets a lightsaber, essentially turns himself into a Jedi, and I'm sure one of his apprentices is Mara Jade, and at some point one of his masters is Luke Skywalker, because he just helped him to bring down the Shadow Trooper project. But again, interesting character. Charlie, what you got there? What have you got there?
My number one Star Wars Legends character, if anyone knows me and will speak to me for 10 minutes or longer about Star Wars, you will learn very quickly that my favorite Star Wars character of all time is none other than Jar Jar Binks. I collect obscure Jar Jar Binks merch. That's one of my little niches. And my top favorite Legends character is, in fact, Darth Jar Jar from the latest Lego series.
Brilliant.
Because I have waited since I was a small child
Brilliant.
for them to make Darth Jar Jar anywhere close to being canon, and I will take him in Lego form, and that will be absolutely fine. Thank you very much. It is complete.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's a good one too, because we had to do. I did this thing for Star Wars, and I asked about like your favorite collectible of the year, and I
Nice.
picked the Dark Falcon because of Darth Jar Jar.
Love
Just
it.
Lego having some fun with things. I thought that's a great one. That's a really good pick. For me, I want to go with Thrawn from Heir to the Empire. Like, I want to see when we come back to Ahsoka season 2. I want Thrawn to have that nastiness to him. You know, it's not an animated series anymore. He's got a mission. We need to give him backstory. You know what's really going on. I think they might even have to dive a little bit into the Chiss ascendancy, maybe. But I feel like they need to bring
Yes.
that version of Thrawn. If you really wanted him to be menacing and terrifying, you know, you sit there and we talk about the High Republic. You need a Marchion Ro type figure. Thrawn could be that because he's so devious and he's so calculating, and so
Yeah.
smart, and such a great enemy. So I would say bringing back that version of Thrawn, which I mean, I don't think it'll happen, but they could ramp him up a little bit closer to Heir of the Empire Thrawn.
Yeah. Yeah. Great shout. Awesome. Right. Let's quickly then just go over a couple of Star Wars gift ideas. Okay, so for this little segment, again, it's not going to take too long. It's just a couple of Star Wars gifts or ideas that you've seen out there on the internet. Again, we'll just do one, two, or three, whatever it is. So there's three things that I've seen so far that have really caught my eye. One of them, first one, is probably Jimmy's favorite thing, Star Wars Lego. The Onyx Cinder ship for the price and all its different like bits and bobs and functions that it's got is well worth the money, I think. And with the hype of the Skeleton Crew at the minute, it is absolutely well worth it. Something I definitely have my eye on. Other things I've seen out there as well is Roosevelt shirts. I know they've sent me and Jimmy some. We're going to do a review on those. They're absolutely amazing, great quality. Again, more on that once we get that review cracked. And the last thing I'll talk about before I pass you on to you, Jimmy, is going to be the the Star Wars Beast book. Have you seen that?
Bestiary book.
That's the one. That's the one. That looks amazing. Anything caught your eye, Jimmy?
Yeah, I was gonna say, as far as the books, and some of these things were on my Christmas list, and I asked my mommy for them. The Onyx Cinder, because I was waiting to see how I like the show, because usually I don't want the Legos if I don't like the show, and I'm like, oh, I want this
Yeah.
Lego now. So the Onyx Cinder, they have released a new visual dictionary from Disney, so this will be the most up to date one until it's not.
Yep.
I'm not sure how much Skeleton Crew stuff will be in there, so it's already out of date. But I think I've asked for that. Yeah, there's just a lot of little things here and there. If you go on to Busted Tea, where like I bought this hat, I can't see what side this thing's on. They have like these national park T-shirts, but it's like Kashyyyk and Endor. I think those are pretty fun gifts.
Oh,
So I
nice.
always like having a shirt on, a Star Wars shirt, where someone has to like double take and be like, and then they know. You know what I mean? Like if you have a shirt that says Star
Yeah.
Wars on it, it's like, yeah, everyone knows what Star Wars is. But like I had that shirt that has all those different droids lined up, and there's like a stormtrooper like scratching his head, and you're like, those are the shirts I like. I like to see people's
Yeah.
reactions, or so those are kinds of things that I enjoy getting, and then of course, given to my nephews and stuff like that. So, but yeah, Charlie, what about you? What would if
Okay.
you could get three
Sweet.
those 3 things be from Santa?
This isn't a new thing. This has been out for quite a long time. I think it's called Dressing the Galaxy. It's a costuming book from The Phantom Menace, but it actually contains samples of fabric that were used on set. It's an entire compendium put together by the costume director for that film, and it's got every single fun fact that Padme has about 40 different outfit changes throughout the entirety of the prequel movies. So it is all of that packed together, but it is very much one of those white whales. It's very, very hard to find for a price that's any less than about $300-$400.
Ooh.
Really, really expensive.
Tasty.
That there is a Jar Jar Binks inflatable chair. If anyone was around in the 90s, you know the hype of the inflatable chair era. I need that. I don't know where I'm going to put it, but I need it. And then I have a very healthy collection behind me on the floor of all of the like scaled droids for the kids. I have like the remote control R2D2. I've got R2D2, BB-8,
Nice.
Theo, Lola. I've got a little popcorn droid that moves, not popcorn, the little mouse droids that move around and squeaks.
Yeah.
They do a chopper one that talks, and he has his little arms that go. "Brr, brr, 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 brr." I need him. I need him under the Christmas tree now.
Fantastic. Awesome. Like we said, there are just a couple of gift ideas that we've seen or would like. So again, thank you so much, Charlie, for joining us this week on the podcast. Super hope you've enjoyed it. Absolutely killed it. Before we come to, we always finish off with like a little quote. I'll start us off. But for anyone listening that's new, again, thank you to all the guys and girls for your support. If you want to jump on our socials, head over to Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, Threads, Blue Sky, and YouTube. Explore the Force, all one word. Please like, share, and subscribe. So, for myself, I'm no Jedi. I'm a guy with a lightsaber and a few questions. Charlie, what quote you got for us?
Can't put me on the spot like this. Nope, nope.
It's
I
gone.
panicked. It's gone. The moment's gone. Just no. Thank you so much for having me, and I've had a really, really, really fun time.
Awesome.
Yeah, Charlie, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. This is a blast. Hopefully, we'll get you back on
welcome.
here again. But for all of us, we have spoken. We'll see you guys next week.
Hulu. Hollow.